You are an Ironman!
Okay, we are now at episode 21, and today I am joined by Johan, who many of you might know as Mr. Explosive Joseph. That's certainly the guy that I have been following on Instagram. So I'm absolutely buzzing to get a chat with you, Joe, and I'm looking forward to finding out a wee bit more about your journey.
Me too.
Um,
Thanks very much for bringing me on. I've been looking forward to coming and having a chat with you.
Not a bother. I suppose we'll start off. We'll have a quick chat about your latest triathlon there, Joe. You've just completed the 70.3 down in Waterville. How did that pan out for you?
It was a brilliant race. Waterville, for anyone who doesn't know, is a 70.3 distance down the very south of Kerry. They couldn't have picked a further place to travel. So after a nice 5 hour drive, we got down there the night before, and yeah, we got going with it. We got lucky with the weather, I have to say now, because you can never really know down in Kerry with winds and rain. But it was we were blessed by the gods. There was a little wind and there was no rain, and the sun wasn't too hot, which can obviously be a big factor as well. So it was a brilliant race from start to finish. I think everyone that done it enjoyed it. Of course, there was a lot of suffering involved, but I was happy to with how I done. I got a PB on the day. I done Waterloo before 2 years ago, and as much as I enjoyed it, I definitely felt it, especially on the run. But this time, I couldn't have been happier with how it went. So I was delighted. Yeah.
I took a wee sneaky look at your Strava just out of curiosity, just to have a wee look at the course and the bike course. I have to say, you absolutely smashed your bike leg.
Thanks very much.
It says on Strava that was a PB for like 90k or whatever, but there was a lot of hills. There's a lot of elevation in the course. Was it a
Yeah.
technical bike course as well as?
Very, very technical and very hilly. I've been going down to Waterville for a few weekends. I go camping down there just to try and go over the course. Obviously, just get familiar with it. Just because I love camping and I love going down to that spot. But it never gets easier. Like the climbs on it. There's this one climb, but there's two climbs in particular that it's that steep that you're nearly the front wheel is nearly coming off if you're not leaning over enough. I think it goes up to something ridiculous like 18%. Um, but yeah, it's a very technical course. There's a lot with the climbing, but then the descents can be very sketchy. In particular, when you go up them climbs, you go down very steep, kind of windy roads where if you're not careful you can end up over the cliff quite quickly. So you gotta, as well as it is going fast down them, sometimes you really got to think to pull on the brakes a little bit.
You definitely don't want to be going over a cliff, but by the sounds of it,
Definitely
I
not.
can imagine. I can imagine that it's a spectacular course, scenery wise. It must be real stuff. It's one
Yeah,
big long. It's a one big loop, isn't that right?
yeah, yeah.
So it must be absolutely stunning. Um, so you actually did. You're being very modest there. You said you did all right and you got a PB, but you actually podiumed as well, didn't you?
Yeah, give me age group. I did. I was delighted. Found out I came toward my age group from 20 to 29. So I'm 25 now. So that was a really nice achievement to find out that I done. Because I think last time I done it, I think I came like eighth in my age group, eighth or
Uh-huh.
ninth in a smaller field. So it was nice to see the improvement that was made from this time to when I last went down.
And to obviously to win at any age group is a huge achievement. I'm not even going to begin to try and take away that from anybody. But for me as a 50-year-old, thinking the guys and seeing the guys at events that are in the 20 to 29-year-old age group category, you guys are different gravy. Do you know what I mean? That has to be one of the most competitive age groups. I mean, in terms of sort of your physicality and your strength, your endurance, your adrenaline, your testosterone, every. I mean, you're in the prime of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully I've still got a few more years of priming. I find that the 20 to 29 like no, this is in sort of different races. I know Ironman goes up every 4 years, but right up until your late 30s, I find some of these guys even into their early 40s, absolute machines, especially with the endurance. It just seems that there's a never ending to getting to that peak if you keep on trying. Like with football, you see all these young guys now coming in, like that 16-year-old or 17-year-old for Spain. They're getting better as they're getting younger. But sometimes with like some endurance events as well, right up until you're into your, I suppose, late 30s, early 40s, you can't there's so much room for improvement. So it's nice to know that as well. That even though I find that I'm doing really well from where I am, it's like hopefully it can keep on going once I stay fit, once I stay injury free. Um, like the realm of getting better, it never ends. So it's nice to know that you can keep on pushing and hopefully keep seeing results.
And you're one of those people, Joe, that's got into the sport at a relatively young age, and it's exciting to listen to you even because I love how you're already thinking about the long game, and I love how you're preempting what lies ahead, and there's an excitement about that, and there's an enthusiasm, and there's an exploration to be had, and see how this all pans out. So you're clued in. You're not going to do anything daft then between now and 30 or now and 35 and absolutely destroy yourself physically. What do you think are the things that you're able to do now that's going to give you that longevity? I know that you have a wee bit of a level of expertise in the fitness industry, and you can see that very very clearly with your Instagram feed. So, what sort of things are you going to do day by day, week by week, year by year to make sure that you're still there or thereabouts in the 30s and your 40s?
I suppose like always striving to get better, never being satisfied with where you're at the moment. Like I could cross that finish line and get a PB and still say to myself, like I'm really happy that I got that result. But to see that PB knows that there's another PB that lies ahead. It's just putting the work in. I love learning and education. So for me, it's always keeping up with the latest science trends, whatever's happening with like heart rate stuff or VO2 testing. Seeing the numbers and then being told, look, there's a little room for improvement here. Your VO2 is up nice and high, but if you maybe include some more anaerobic work or you like do a little bit more thresholds in your training, like there's a possibility that that can be increased. So here, like when you kind of think of stuff like that, and always wanting them to improve, say every area, so that you're focused on the 1%, because every 1% that you improve will give you a different result. So I suppose just keep doing that sort of stuff day in, day out, week by week until, and then obviously following the approach that you can't constantly keep pushing like all the time. You need to be sensible with how you structure your training. There's obviously like the 80-20 rule, and then maybe like during the winter time, you take a bit of time off. You let the body heal up a little bit. You might do something else, a bit of cross training in a different area, so that you can stay motivated and stay hungry when it's time to really put down the pace.
Sound advice. One of the things that I find most difficult to do is to actually take time off, and it's something that I need to start doing. I think I do take it back a bit. I don't be as kind of hard on myself with regards to hitting 4 or 5 days a week. I might take that back to 3 days a week, or 3 to 4 days a week, and I might take the sort of the duration of things down. But I really need to start, giving myself rest.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I'm the same. I train 7 days a week. Very rare you take the rest day, but coming up to Waterville, the week of Waterville, I gave myself, I think it was three rest days on that week. Now, like obviously it's race week and you're not going to be doing anything crazy, but even your small sessions leading up, I just said, you know what? I'm going to give the body the rest it deserves. Now, every single thing in me was fighting with that, saying, "No, Joe, like you can't sit still. You have to train." Because your mind is just so used to always just going. It could only be an hour out on the bike, but it's always in that routine of doing it. But letting the body rest like can only give you like better results once you're not doing it way too often, like taking week off here, week off there. But I did see some great results from taking the time off, and then because of how hard I pushed in the race, the fatigue I felt after was unbelievable. I really every muscle in my body was aching. So I took another few days off after the race instead of rushing back into the training and getting straight back into it. And now the body feels great and it feels ready to go for the next big event, which is going to be the biggest event I'll do so far to date, and that's this day 2 months. So plenty of time to get knuckling down now.
Um, what is that event that you're working on then in 2 months? You've given me a wee taste of something there, and I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What's the event then? What's the big one that you're working towards?
I'll be doing Ironman Wales.
Ironman
So that's
Wales. Fantastic.
yeah, it's gonna be a good hard race that I'm looking forward to.
Joe, you've had quite the journey, it's fair to say. I suppose this podcast talks about journeys and it talks about inspirations. And for me, you tick those two boxes very, very clearly in terms of you've been on a journey and you're an inspirational guy. You're young, you're fit, you're inspiring people, you're innovative with your business, all those types of things. But for anybody that doesn't know your story, it just in your own words and whatever you want to share, give us a sense of how you have come to where you're at today, a few weeks ahead of Ironman Wales.
Yeah, it's definitely been quite the journey. So to start off, just coming up to 3 years now. So say this day 3 years ago, I would have just been going for maybe my first sea swim or done my first few lengths in the swimming pool, and literally talking 50, like 2 lengths, 50 meters, and I was gas, I was fucked. Couldn't do it. Was a complete beginner, never had any experience in the endurance side of things. Used to go to the gym every now and again, maybe Monday to Thursday, and then go on the piss Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Was one of them guys, but yeah, got into the endurance training. First, it was a little bit of running. The challenge people were doing during lockdown. It was like tag someone to run 5K or something like that. I remember my friend tagged me in it, and I was coursing up and down because 5K to me was like a marathon, to anyone else. Um, but anyways, so I kind of started getting into the endurance training things, seeing how much love I had, I suppose, for just being in that state of pushing the body. Now, like obviously when I was doing it, I hated it because of how hard it was. But like as I talked, I was seeing them improvements, and at the time, it might have been taking your 5K down to 32 minutes or something. But that feeling of knocking time off every time, I suppose, like wanted to give me that push to keep on going with it. So I never sort of let that go, and I suppose every day, I kind of got into it a little bit more to the point then I was like, oh, it's like a swimming would kind of be good to look at as well. And then same thing with swimming, went from swimming 2 lengths to 4 lengths, and then done a 200 meter, and then gradually, slowly built on top of that all the time. Um, so yeah, I got more into it. Signed up for my first sprint distance. It was Loch Couture. You're familiar with Loch Couture in
Yeah.
Galway?
Yeah.
Yes. So me and one of my mates, Ryan, we signed up for that for the sprint distance, and at the time it was like, what are we doing? Like this seems like a bit out of our reach. But we gave ourselves, I think it was 16 weeks to train for it, and 4 weeks to go. I start I start being the Billy Big Bollocks, and I was like, oh, why don't we just do the Olympic distance? And he was like, oh, Joe, relax yourself. That's a bit too much of a push. But I ended up signing for the Olympic distance, and loved every second of it. It was one of the best days of my life crossing that finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Having the buzz of it. Very rare. Like you feel a buzz like that of doing your first big event. The sense of accomplishment, the sense of achievement. Um, and that led to, the next event, another Olympic, and then first 70.3, Marbella, 2020, 2022, I think it was. Yeah. So got the Marbella under the belt, and then the Waterville. Waterville was my second big race that I done, and that was the first time doing that course, and definitely felt it was tougher than Marbella just because of how technical it was. Now Marbella was a hilly course, but I just felt Waterville had its own unique sort of taste to the course with the elevation, the way the hills were. There were a lot more elevation in the hills. Like the gradient was definitely higher than Marbella, even though Marbella was longer hills. The gradients and the bends and the technicality of Waterville was definitely tougher. But then I wanted to do like a good marathon. That was something that I always wanted to do because for me, when I heard of people doing marathons, it was like something out of this world. Like a non-runner to think of a 42.2K race or a run, whatever it is, it's mind blowing to think that that's
Mm-hmm.
even possible to do. So I said to myself that that was something that was top of the bucket list, and I went over to Barcelona. That was where I done my first one. Gave myself a good training block for that one. I was coaching myself at the time, so I was experimenting with my own sort of programming. Um, and I wanted to prove to myself that it was something that I could do. So went to Barcelona and I ended up doing a sub three marathon. I done 2:57, my
Brilliant.
first go at it. And that was amazing. But then she hit the fan after Barcelona. Something happened that I would have never ever thought would have been possible. So I got home from Barca on the best was of my life. Um, Knowing that I had all these new goals and adventures, it got me first full distance in Cork to train for. I was still in a very good age group. I was in the youngest, the 18 to 24 at the time, so high hopes. But when I got home from Barcelona, I started noticing that my breathing was really off. Um, I was struggling to, I was struggling to do simple things like I was getting out of the car and I would have been out of breath. I'd be in work. I work in the Kiln Hospital as well, and I'd be walking up the stairs, and I'd just be absolutely bollocksed. So I got to the stage then where I couldn't take it anymore, and I said to the nurse in the hospital or the midwife, I says, "Come here, something's not right." I says, "I don't know what's going on with me, but ever since I done the marathon, I've been struggling to do little things, and then even on that, like when I was trying to do, say, an easy run." Like just say like a zone two run. It's usually 140 heart rate, 135 heart rate, whatever it is, 530 pace. I'd be trying to keep that pace and my heart rate will be up at 170, 180. And that's when I knew something was wrong. So they put me onto this Dynamap. A Dynamap it's a machine that can track it's like an ECG, I think, so it can tell the rhythm of your heart. And I just thought, they'll just be like, look, it's grand, you just need to take a bit of rest or something. And they started looking at each other, like in the room, and that's when I knew that I was like, what's going on? They were like, just wait here for a sec, and I was like, oh shit, that doesn't sound too good, does it? So they came back in a few minutes later, and they were like, listen, Joe, we're getting you a taxi straight away to James's. Something's not right with your heart, and you need to get seen like as soon as possible. So off I went on a taxi to James's and done loads more tests, blood tests, whatever it was they were doing, ECGs, all these different echoes, and yeah, then they came back and told me that I had three different heart conditions, and they had to send me for all new different tests and scans, and uh, they said I wouldn't be able to train for up to 2 years.
Wow.
So Yeah,
That's a big, big blow. That is a massive blow for you right there.
it was the worst, one of the worst days of my life. Um, I plan everything around my training, or at least I did at the time. It really was a huge part of my life. Um, every day you wake up and the first thing you think of is what you're training today. You know, if there's any commitments or on, you have to always check to see if you can fit your training in first. So, yeah, that was definitely a big shock. But not only that, like they told me I couldn't work for a good few months either. So it's like, what do you do with yourself when you get told that you can't live normally and then you can't train normally either? So that was, yeah, it was definitely a tough old time to go through.
And what did that time? What did you? I mean, you really had no choice about that period of time, and it was obviously a huge, huge curveball coming in. I mean, the worst possible time for you. How did you get through that period of time? In terms of like just filling your day whenever you couldn't work and you couldn't train, it must have been really, really, really taxing on you. It must have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah, especially the first few weeks were really tough because you're so out of your routine. You don't know what to be doing with yourself. This it was during the summer as well, so there's a lot going on around you. Um, there's a lot of races, there's a lot of things, other things going on, like whatever events and stuff. How did I keep myself sane? The one thing that I done that made a difference, and it could have went either way. I could have went back drinking and back feeling sorry for myself and just gone back to into that awful rut, which obviously would have made me heart 10 times worse. But what I done to help was I was lucky that during this time, I just started my the International Triathlon Coaching Association course, which is one of the biggest triathlon coaching courses in America. So I think I was about a month or two into that, just as this whole started. So I spent most of my day studying and educating myself as best as I could. All of the time and energy I would have used in my training. I put it into that, knowing that if I kept this up, and luckily I had a passion for it as well, so I wasn't just doing it for the sake of it. I was enjoying doing it, and it was keeping me head above water. So I got further into that, and it allowed me to. There's a year or two cut off for how long you can study for that, which is what they recommend. But because I had so much time off, I managed to get done within 5 months, I think it was, all the
Brilliant.
modules and assignments and and tests and stuff. So that was kind of what I mostly done to keep myself occupied. And then um, 3 times a week, I would have bring me mates out and coached them. So it was they were all training for a marathon at the time. So I says, right, well, what better way to practice my coaching and get better with the in-person side of coaching than to get some groups together and head off to the park and bring them out to the sea and watch them swim and give them tips. So that was definitely helpful to keep me head above water. But it's never going to be the same than doing it yourself. There was a real battle to keep them demons away when all this is going on, when I couldn't do physical exercise. But it definitely did help helping other people to see them progress through the coaching when I couldn't do it.
So even though you weren't able to actually physically participate in triathlon, you had kept triathlon. It was triathlon had given you a purpose, and it had given you a new. It was a new goal, and something that you riz to that challenge really, really quickly. Really, I mean, you smashed that out of the park within 5 months.
Mhm.
So while you couldn't participate and you couldn't train, your brain was still active, your mind was active, the enthusiasm was still there, the motivation was still there, the passion for the sport was obviously still burning, and you were able to channel all that, which is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you for sharing that, because it means that whenever people are coming to you for advice and coming to you for coaching, they're not just coming to you because you're quick and you're explosive, Joseph. They're not just coming to you for the if forgive me for saying it like the brand that is explosive, Joseph. They're also coming to you knowing that you know your shit. Do you know what I mean? You've got
Yeah.
you've read it, you've studied it, you've done it all, um, and you test that out then with your mates. So I'm curious to find out then. So how long was the heart problem a problem, and what sort of treatment did you have to get and recovery and things like that? How did all that pan out?
So it was the 1st of April when I got diagnosed with the heart conditions, and then on the 22nd of September was when I got the final surgery done to remove what was going on within the heart. So it was I think it was 7 months in total of just being sick, we'll call it, and being
And you had
walking.
a couple of procedures, did you then? When you say that was the final one, was there
There was
different things you
yeah,
had to
so
go through?
there was a lot of hiccups. Like there was a lot of times I would have been having to get rushed to A&E. Like sometimes, like nearly every week I was in A&E, but sometimes I'd be in the shower and there'd be no exercise, no nothing, and I'd get out of the shower and I would just feel like I was gonna faint, or I'd feel you'd put your hand here and it's like your heart is ripping in your chest. And just to make sure I wasn't being paranoid, I'd put the heart rate sensor on. I'd put and I could measure the heart rate, and it was up at 186 one time from
Uh-huh.
standing still, 186. Now to put that in context, my max heart rate, like peak 5K PB, like even further than that, I would have barely been touching that, So like to know your heart is going that fast with
Mm-hmm.
no exercise just because of the irregular heart rate as well. It's very scary, and they'd have to bring me straight into A&E, and um there was one thing that they had to keep doing. It was they put you to sleep and they'd shock the heart to try and get it back into a rhythm and to stop I suppose the aggressive beat of the heart. Um, but then eventually I managed to go private and get this an ablation. It's called so. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with it, but what they had to do, lucky enough now, they didn't cut into my actual heart up on the chest, but they went in through my groin, so they had to cut my groin open and they put it's like a wire up through the heart and it burns certain parts of the heart to try and stop the irregular heart rate.
Okay.
So I'm not too sure about the whole science side of what was going on, but it was something about um the pump function of the heart was just not pumping nowhere near enough or to the capability that it should have. It wasn't efficient. So that was just causing the heart to become weaker and weaker and weaker over time.
And that's a scary, scary thing to be having to deal with, Joe. I mean, when you're so young, I suppose you do. I mean, we all kind of think about heart problems and we associate it with poor life choices and unhealthy behaviors and maybe old age and things. But for a young guy like you, just to be um, hit with that just out of the blue is just it's kind of nuts, but so scary. You must have been devastated, like.
Yeah, that was one of the toughest times I've had to go through. But like that, like I'm a big believer that as mad as it sounds, that everything happens for a reason in life. No matter what it is, there's a reason why things happen. And when I think back and I think of all the episodes and all everything that went through over them 7 months, if I never went through that time, because I was so focused on my training, so focused on these high achievement goals. I wouldn't have had enough time to do all the studying that I wanted to do, all the qualifications. I've got like I've a good few qualifications that I've gained through them 7 months from always wanting to do different courses, from training peaks to triathlon Ireland to Athletics Ireland, all the way up into America with the ITCA. So being able to be sick and not train and focus the energy towards that allowed me to get all that, which I don't know whether I would have if I was not sick, because all my energy was focused on training, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, and again, it's a lovely example of every cloud has a silver lining, I suppose. You know,
Yeah.
because the easiest thing in the world would have been just to curl up and to feel sorry for yourself, but instead you went and you focused things, you channeled the energy that you had and your enthusiasm for the sport, and you went and improved yourself. So let's take a look at where we're at today. Okay, so that kind of puts a lot of things into perspective, and it's a sobering reminder as well about how we maybe shouldn't take things for granted, and it would be worthwhile every so often getting yourself checked out and stuff like that. But you've come through that now. Thank God, you're doing extremely well. Your results in Waterville have shown that. You PB'd your half marathon this year as well, didn't you? Back in February.
Yeah, yeah. I was on a trip over to Dubai, and I went over to one of my friends and my cousin, and my friend turned around and says, "There's a half marathon in Rack. It's about an hour outside of Dubai." So with it being February, the weather would have been like it's hot all year round, but in the summertime over in the Middle East, it's 45 degrees, something ridiculous. So we said, sure, fuck it, we'll go up and we'll give it a shot and see how we get on. And this would have only been, I think, 5 months after starting to get back training. I got back training, I think just at the end of, or just at the start of November. Very light training, but built myself back into it. And yeah, I managed to a good time. I think I came in at 122, which might not sound like a great time to some really good runners out there, but for me to do that sort of time, and I think it was what, like 350 a kilometer, 355. To do that from where I came from was immense. It meant so much to know that you can get, when you apply yourself, and no matter how much you've been through in the past, but the determination to just keep going with it, it was a great feeling, I have to say.
Well, I can tell you from where I'm sitting, 122 and a half marathon is way, way, way beyond what I'll ever achieve. That's bonkers time as far as I'm concerned. But you're quite right. From where you came from and what you've had to come through, and the whats and the ifs and the buts and the maybes, and will I be able to get back to where I am? Will I be able to run again? And bang, there it is. And that's within, so September to February is what, sort of like 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. And then a couple of weeks after that half marathon, you find yourself at the beginning of the Barcelona Marathon. Am I right?
Yeah, so with what happened the year before, it was only right for me to go back over to Barcelona, and to be where it all went wrong, to do that race again, and to just be back in the same place I was in, but this time as a healthy person. Now, like, don't get me wrong, I was still on all my heart meds. I only came off my last one less than a month ago. I got good news that it's all done. But I was still taking heart meds now. Like, I was kind of okay to do the training and stuff like that, but it was still weary. It was still in the back of my mind that it's not done and that you're not fully healed. But I feel good in myself to give this another shot. Um, a year on from where it kind of all, we'll say, shit hit the fan. But yeah, I went over to Barcelona this year again to do round two on the course, and it was again just one of the best days ever crossing that finish line, getting another PB, and and this time feeling good when I finished, because when I finished it the last time, I think in the back of my mind, because I pushed through all the pain, I didn't quite take into how I was feeling because I was just so happy that I crossed. And I don't know, but I think thinking back now, like that's where it kind of started from the end of the marathon feeling a little bit off, and then in the days leading after it, not feeling too good. But when I went over this year, everything was okay. There was no problems post marathon. There was no, getting out of the car feeling like I was gonna faint. Um, everything everything was great. Thank God.
There's there's a fantastic. I'm a wild man for wee sayings and quotes and stuff, and there's one that I heard which is, if you think you're walking through hell, at least walk like you own the place.
I
And
like
for
that.
me, listening to that story, that's you going back a different man, a stronger man with renewed confidence and renewed belief, and looking at, owning it, running that marathon for the second time round, knowing that this time is going to be different. You own that now. Like, that is class. I love that shit,
Cheers,
man.
Mickey. Thanks
That
very much.
is,
Now, don't get me wrong, it was pure suffering like the first one. But like 25K in, I was like, fuck this. I can't hold on to this pace anymore. Like that, I know what it feels like now to be in that mental state of wanting to give up and not giving up. And because I felt like I didn't feel pressure from other people, like, oh, I have to come over here and do a good time and stuff like that. It's all in myself, and I think like that, like the mental resilience is what you need in this sort of game. And you know yourself, you're doing Tyrone next week. You know what it's gonna take. You're gonna be hurting. You're gonna be in that sort of mind, but you gotta just keep pushing through. You gotta remember that when you get to the finish line, that's when it's gonna matter, and that's when you're gonna be like, "Do you know what? All the suffering, all the pain, the hurting, it was all worth it." And I just kept hanging on to that thought, and then like rightly so, crossed the finish line, and that's when it meant more to me than I ever would have thought.
no, that's absolutely amazing. So that is some story, man. That is unreal. Fair play to you.
Cheers,
That
man.
is just fantastic. Um, I don't know how we're going to top that, but we'll give it a go.
We'll
I'm
give it a
intrigued to
shot.
find out. I'm intrigued to find out about Ironman Wales. So you're going to be hitting
Okay.
the shores of Swansea then in a couple of well, it's only weeks away now. What are we? We're in the 22nd of July, so we're 22nd of September. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Um, Talk me through how your training's going then now, and what the game plan is then. If everything goes according to plan, if you have the perfect day and the weather plays ball and things like that, what are
Yeah.
you hoping? Or maybe you
Yeah.
don't want
So
to. Maybe you don't want to, and if you don't want to,
no,
don't want to put you in the spot.
things are going really well for Wales at the moment. Obviously, so this is my first full distance. I didn't get a chance to do Cork because I had my ticket and everything, and then I got sick and I had to pull out. So this is actually my referral or my deferral, whatever way it is,
Okay,
from
yeah.
Cork. Um, so yeah, it's training's been going well. I was very nervous for it, leading up to it, but you know what? I'm not so much nervous for it now. And I think what is making me not nervous was I done Wicklow 200, I think about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. And before that, I would have only ever cycled 120K, as my longest cycle. I would have never went near the Ironman distance before. And that was something that really kind of scared me. The fact that, like, right, obviously I've done 120, but like to go up then and do another 60 and then run a marathon off the bike it's a crazy, crazy thought for anyone.
Mm,
But when I done Wicklow 200, I had such a good day. Of course, it was tough. Don't get me wrong. Like I had some dark moments, but I had the strength, and I managed to. I think I averaged 25 kilometers an hour on that course, and to do that over 200K, and actually finish that feeling half decent. I That was such a big confidence booster for me.
mm-hmm.
So when I think of Wales now, when I think of how tough it's going to be, of course it's going to be hard and it's going to be tough, but I'm ready for it. I feel that I've been putting the training in to go and do it, and I'm just excited to finally get the chance to do this Ironman. Since I started triathlon, obviously Ironman is it's like everyone's dream, isn't it? To think about it, and to it's the pinnacle of the sport in my eyes. Like it's like that bucket list that some people will want to like eventually do, and I'll finally get a chance to do it in 2 months after nearly 2 years of trying to do it but not being able to.
And the experience that you've had in Waterville with the bike course in Waterville is going to stand you in good stead come Wales too, because it's notoriously quite hilly, and it's a very technical bike course as well. So that's going to really stand to you. So would it be fair to say you're going to be kind of okay with the bike? You feel that you've got the bike. I think just from talking to you and looking at you, that you kind of have the bike.
Yeah, I hopefully I like to think so. So I don't have a TT bike. That's the one thing when I'm racing. It's all road bike. I I'd say 2 months ago, I bought a new bike, and I probably should have got a TT bike with the money that I spent on this bike, but I didn't. And you know what? I'm kind of glad that I didn't get it because you know yourself on the TT bikes, when you're out cycling and stuff like that. I like hilly courses. I like challenging courses rather than a flat course. So it suits me to go out with the lads or to go out just up in the mountains on the road bike. But when I think of what choice to make, like should I have got a TT, should I have got a road bike? Like that, as you said, the Wales course, it's very technical course, very hilly course. So I think I'll be happy that I chose the road bike on the day. Um, we'll find out. I'm sure. But the big question is how does the leg? Because I have no clue how the legs will feel coming off 180k to do a full marathon. I did run a 10k after the Wicklow 200, and that felt good. But that's nowhere near a marathon, is it? So we'll
No,
have to
well,
find out.
it's. I suppose it's something that you gotta try and suss out now. What you want from your first Ironman.
That's
You can
yeah,
go out there and
yeah,
you can push and get into the pain cave very very quickly. You'll
yeah,
know that from your experience in Waterville, or if you just want to complete it and just feel proud that you've done it. I've no doubt that you
yeah.
will complete it. But it's just about how much pain you want to endure while you're completing it,
Yeah, and that's
So
the thing. Like when you do a 70.3, it's funny because I've done a few now, and every time you cross that finish line, I always say to myself, "How the fuck am I going to do that now for double the distance?" Of course, it is different, and you can't hold 70.3 pace for a full. But for me, there's never going to be a question like am I going to push to the limit, which I will. You just got to be careful with that sort of distance of how much you're pushing, and what sort of nutrition strategy you have. But in terms of a goal, in terms of a time goal, I don't actually have one, and that's the truth. People say to me, I'm sure you know what you want to come in at. I genuinely don't. All I know is that I will push to my limits on the day, and we'll see how fast and how quick I can get it done. I'll be happy to finish it without a doubt, but I will sit down closer to it and figure out. But for now, once I cross that finish line, I'll be happy. And whether that's coming in 11 hours or whether that's coming in 15 hours, it doesn't really matter for me on my first one. The best advice I ever got on my first 70.3, we were all sitting around the table in Marbella, and I think I was only like 20, 22 or something like that. And like I'm asking everyone, "Oh, what time are you going for? What time are you going for?" And this elder lad who had a lot, you could tell he had a lot of experience. He had about four different Ironman tattoos all over his body. He was one of them. And he says, "Listen, lad," he says, "if I can give you any bit of advice," he says, "on your first Ironman, first half, whatever it is," he says, "if you're not smiling on the bike, you're going too hard." He says, I don't even remember my first race. He says I was so clued in to try and get this sub whatever that it's a blur to me because he was so focused on looking ahead or looking down and pushing that he doesn't remember on. He doesn't remember what the mountains look like on this side or what the beach looked like on that side. So he says, "Do me a favor." He says, "Just enjoy it. Obviously, push whatever, but look around, just smile, talk to people." And I tell you, what if I done that? And to this day, the first 7.3 was one of them days I'll be telling my grandkids about when I'm trying to get them to get into Ironman. You know. But yeah,
Absolutely.
so similar to that in Wales approach, I will be enjoying myself and I'll be looking around and I'll be having fun on the course.
It's something that you're never gonna forget. I mean, and for you, the feeling that you're going to experience whenever you're running down that red carpet, like towards the end, um, actually, the feeling you'll get whenever you ring that bell and then run down
Yeah.
the red carpet, like it's all coming back to me now, man. Hairs the back of my neck are standing on me thinking about it, like, but it really is something special for you from where you've been through and your health scare and stuff. It's just going to be, it'll be extra special. So listen to that old hand and have a look around you too. Whenever you're going over them mountains and them hills, look out across the sea and think about the Welsh Dragon that's chasing you. Whatever wee things you need to get you through. Um, but no, look, that's. I wish you nothing but success for that, and I'll be following you on your Instagram page, and we'll keep in touch. Up until that, I was going
Absolutely.
to ask you then, just in relation to your coaching. Um, your do most of your coaching then via Instagram, and do you do the coaching in person in Dublin, or do you do it just all online, or can people link in and hook up various different ways? What's the sort of what's the business look like that way?
Yeah. So the business is Explosive Endurance. That is I suppose the name of the coaching business, and we have both in person and online coaching. It would be mostly online at the moment. We've kind of got ourselves all over the world, I'll say. Clients from New Zealand to LA to different parts of Europe. But so obviously for them, it would all lay to be online. But then in Dublin, we've got different things going on. We have a track session once a week. We have a bike session once a week, and then I also own my own gym. So I've got a gym called Bike Lab, which we sort of work with different guys both on watt bikes and on treadmills in person. So the layout of the gym, what makes it unique is that we use heat training and altitude training to train these guys up. So we get, say we do a 6 week block. We look to increase all different aspects of their physiology, from VO2s to aerobic thresholds to their ability to, withstand lactate, both on the bike and on the treadmill. So I love the gym. It's a really unique gym. We don't really use weights around like that. It's all endurance based. But the buzz that you get out of even just coaching, I might even doing the class. Sometimes I might jump in with them and be on the bike with them. But to see the results them guys make, similar to when I started off coaching me mates when I wasn't well. I still carry that passion and desire when I see people putting in the work and getting the results. It's a
Mm.
really special feeling. So, like my stepdad, Sean, he started up at the gym in January, and he still does it now. He still comes twice a week to the bike lab. But in them, what we now, we're 9 months in. No, not 9 months, 7 months in. In 7 months, he's lost 12 kilo from the
Brilliant.
bike lab. But not only that, right? So for all the cyclists out there, all the triathletes, he has went from a 135 FTP to a 250 FTP. This Sean's I think Sean's 63 now, 63 years old, and he's pushing
Wow.
watts. Yeah, so it's like seeing that sort of stuff is just mind blowing, and that's what really drives me for the coaching, especially up in the gym in person, because it's very difficult to do the in-person stuff, especially when you're trying to organize sessions outdoors, with how busy you can be during the week. But when I go up to the gym and I do the classes and I see the results that these guys can put out on the bikes, in particular with the FTP, it's mind blowing.
So is the gym set up? It's called Bike Lab. But is it set up like with bikes, or do you bring your own bike, or what way does it kind of work out? It
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
we've got Yeah, we've got in the room we have 10 watt bikes, all laid up, and that connects then to a big sort of plasma uh screen where everyone works off their own numbers. So we've got the platform we use. We put in everyone's individual FTP, and they work off the same session, but they've all got different numbers. So their targets like they wouldn't be the same. But like every session could be different. You could be working off like threshold, and then you could be working off like anaerobic efforts and sprints, stuff like that. So in that room, we use the bikes, and then one day a week we do heat training. So we get the room up to 35 degrees, like a sauna. It's the only way to describe it. I'd be standing there, and I'd be melting, sweating, and I'm not even working out. So you can imagine what it's like for the lads on the bikes. Um, but yeah, it's brilliant. It is. And then with the altitude as well. And then in the other room, it's called TriLab. So in the TriLab is where it's a different approach. We use Zwift in the TriLab, so we connected up to the Zwift. And then we've got the bike. We've got two bikes, two treadmills, and a stairmaster in there actually, and that's what we focused on. We use a mask-based system where we can modify how much oxygen is going into the body, 17% to 12%. So you can imagine, because we're breathing 21% now. So if people come to us saying, "Listen, I want to climb Everest, I need to get some specific training in," we say, right, we bring them in. We do some tests. We find out what their SpO2 is, what needs work, and over a course of however many weeks, we work to bring the oxygen levels all the way down, so that they're getting adapted with the lower oxygen. Pretty it's pretty hardcore stuff. It's brilliant though. You really, really see the difference in the guys, and especially people who actually do go on and do stuff like climb Everest. The the testing and the data from when they start to when they finish is mind blowing.
It
You should
sounds
come down,
amazing.
Mickey. Come down when you're next in Dublin, and we'll get a session after Tyrone, of course. You'll need a bit of
I
recovery time after that, and then we
bring
get you in for a session.
a change of clothes, and a couple of towels for the sweating.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you might get a tan now with that heat, It gets quite hot in there. You bring your sun cream.
Hey, it's all high tech stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and I suppose side by side with the high tech stuff, and that the technology that's involved in what you do to bring an athlete on, there'll obviously be other things that they'll be expected to do then outside of Bike Lab in their own time, like appropriate nutrition and strength work, or their own training schedules and things like that there. So do you see Bike Lab and your work going side by side with what goes on in tri clubs, or is your stuff a different league? Or
Yes. So the main goal is to bring explosive endurance. So what I wanted to do from day one is to bring explosive endurance to the same level as these triathlon clubs. Just the ones all around. I won't name them, but all the ones around Ireland. But the difference in what I want to do with the club is that it's going to be an online based club. So a lot of these clubs, they can be maxed out. They don't have room for people. The sessions are full. With explosive endurance, we've got a group of different coaches working inside with guys. We've got a nutritionist, we've got a psychologist, and the whole goal is to bring it to a worldwide level where anyone from any age or from any ability and level would be welcome to come in and get trained by either myself or by one of the other guys.
that sounds unreal. That definitely sounds like something that people should be interested in if they're not. I know my ears are perked up. I might take you up on that offer. I might just
Yeah,
pop in there someday with the old the gym gear and see what happens. I could be crawling out to the car. I
yeah,
should
we
probably
could
actually
scare you
book
off just as
a
quick as you walk in.
I should maybe book a bed and breakfast in case I'm not fit to drive up the road, like. But
I know it's brilliant though. It really is. And do you know what? I think since lockdown in particular, the whole fitness scene has just gone through the roof. You know, and like I talked to my mum about this a few weeks ago. I says, look, when you were younger, like was there many people your mates around, or even yourself, like they just go for runs, or they just they just do like hikes. You know the way like everyone's mad for hiking now, and she says you'd be kind of looked down upon. You'd be like people would be like, oh, he's a bit weird, isn't he? Like going for hikes and doing all this back then when they were growing up. It was just such like a drinking community, and that was all there really was time for. Where nowadays it's completely changed. Everyone, it's like a trend. All these run clubs, all these different groups, and it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely amazing to see people taking their fitness a lot more serious. Obviously, like the health benefits you're going to get from that, but just as a lifestyle, that's what it comes down to. It's making the little changes to be able to wake up on a Saturday morning and say, I'm going to go for a walk or I'll get running instead of still probably being up at that time or, being hungover and then wasting your weekend away.
I can relate to what you're saying there because I'm seeing that lifestyle and that choice and the variety of things that are now available to guys your age and to younger. I've got four boys. My eldest lad's 21. I've another lad coming up now. He'll be 18 in November. And they're hitting the gym. They're going out for runs. They're going up and down mountains. They're going hiking. They're doing all those things. They're getting involved in high rocks. They're watching what they're eating. And it is amazing. And your mom's right. Whenever we were younger, that all we did was drink. We just lay about the TV and watched shit TV shows. And if you weren't doing that, there was something wrong with you. Like what? It
Yeah.
was kind of nuts. But that was the times we were in. So absolutely, yeah. I'm all on for that. I'm all on for the promoting of opportunity and lifestyle choices, and I'm glad that I've made the effort to take it on, and it's now reflecting in my kids. They're seeing their old man being active, and they're being active, which could have panned out differently if I had a stick. They could be watching me
Yeah.
smoking fags and drinking, and then they would be smoking fags and drinking. That kind of way.
Mm.
So
And even for your state of mind as well, like that's what it kind of comes down to as well. It's about how you feel when you do this sort of stuff compared to how you feel, as you said, when you just used to smoke and drink and have nothing going. Um, uh, like shout out to one of my friends. I give him a shout out, Connor Wayne Walsh. Connor has set up a sort of he calls it Miles and Smiles, and his aim is for mental health and fitness to come together. He hosts a run club once a month, try gets everyone together from all different areas of life, and you don't have to be fit. You can literally turn up and walk 5K. But he will be all over Instagram, all over everywhere, in shops, trying to get the word out there to come to the run and talk to like-minded people, say your story, and just be present in the moment. And I just think it's the best thing ever, seeing people change their lives from being in that dark place, probably not even able to get up out of bed to then going and running a 5K, and it changes everything for them. I've seen people where they're complete new different people now because they've found this new lifestyle that allows them to just literally get up out of bed and um
it's
just
unreal.
like be a better person.
It's great to hear you saying that, Joe, and it's also it's honest. I think people that won't know you will maybe think, well, that's nice of him to say that, but I know that to be true. I know that to be from your heart because as recently as this week, one of the things that you really enjoy doing is celebrating other people's success, and you may have had something to do with that along the way, but nonetheless, you'll be posting photographs of them crossing their own finishing lines in whatever events that they've been doing, and you've been going, you know, championing them and celebrating them, and you're kind of living it with them, like, you know, and that's a lovely thing to have and a lovely thing to share, and it's a very inspiring way to live. So, you know, anybody that's got any questions or interests or want to sort of link in with you in the future, what's the best way for them to kind of hook up with you?
Um, they can always text my Instagram page. I've always got my DMs open for anyone, both on the Mr. Explosive Joseph page or Explosive Endurance. And then if anyone wants to check out the website, that's where you can find all the different services from not even just the training services, you know, if you want to pop down to do to do a session in the gym, to talk to if you feel like that you need help in any area from nutrition to mental well-being. We've got psychologists, we've got nutritionists. You can always send a link on the website, and we'll be right in touch as well. That's Explosive Endurance, www.explosiveendurance.com.
Brilliant. I'm going to put a wee link to that as well in the podcast in the description. Um, so all I want to say now, Joe, is thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Thank you very much for sharing your personal story. Thank God you came through that, and you've lived to tell the tale. And oh my God, what a journey! And to think from standing in the shower, thinking you're going to drop and being terrified of what may happen, to lining up, listening to AC/DC with your wetsuit on as you're about to go into the sea. That is going to, man, you are going to be on fire. I am buzzing for you. So I'm really, really looking forward to that journey. And maybe sometime down the line, I might get you and a couple of the other guys that I have interviewed up to date to come on and kind of give us a wee update about how things went. That's something that I have in the pipeline, so I might be in touch again for that.
Well, listen, I'll take you up on the offer, and I'll be glad to jump back on and chat to you when that time comes.
Good man. So you look after yourself. Take care. Hope your training goes to plan and have a safe race in Wales. I wish you all the very best, man. Take care.
Cheers, Mickey. Thanks very much. See you soon.